Good evening, I guess. Can anybody hear me?
Give me a minute. Give me a minute. Shay. Hello, Betty. Good evening, Betty. Good evening. Okay, someone is Shay. Just waiting to see who is Shay, who put unblocked. Good evening, Barbara. How are you?
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, Dion. Sammy, see you there. See someone else is there, trying to see who else is on. It says Shay. Okay, so I'm just waiting for everyone to come forward. Thank you so much, Betty Palmer. Thank you. Okay, Daniel, thank you so much. Okay. Okay, we're getting ready to start. Just waiting for everyone to come on board. And if you're on, please show your camera so we could know who you are. Okay, so we have Daniel, we have Dion, Sammy, you're here. Barbara is here. Waiting for, okay. And then we'll be getting ready to start our show tonight. Yes, Betty, this definitely. Okay, so once it's on, shared on your page, then it will be live on your page. And to everyone who is here, thank you so far for coming on board. And also, we're waiting for the great attorney, Hugh Campbell. We're waiting for the doctor. And I see someone else here. It says Shay. Sammy, is that? Okay, so I got to find out who is Shay. I don't know who is that, but before the show starts, I would like to find out. And also, thank you. We're streaming on E2 on air. Thank you so much, E2, for streaming this program. Teresa Brown, good evening to you in Pennsylvania. To everyone who is on. So if it's someone that is logged on by the name of Shay, can you reveal yourself so I can know who you are? Don't know. Sammy, are you using another connection?
No, I'm not. I'm pretty sure it's my sister though.
Okay, maybe she logged on to assist you. Okay, I understand that. If it's her, then it's I understand that. Okay, just had to be sure. All right, so we're just waiting for the rest guests to come in. Teresa, everything is good. Everything is great. We're just waiting on the few other guests. It's the top of the hour. And I'm here just, I don't know, I got this light that was sent to me for the program, but I just think that they say, could you rate it? I don't want to rate it negative. It's good, but it's hot. It's something about the light. It's just hot. So that's the rating I can give to anyone who would use it. It's very hot. But I would not say it's not a good light. It's just a hot light. So, okay, so as we wait, I guess I'll be waiting for 2 more guests to log on and we get the program. But in the meantime, good evening to everyone again, and to everyone who is logged on. We thank you so much for sharing the program. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have a great conversation tonight. And in the meantime, while I wait, let me thank the people who make this show possible, to be here.
Friends will move on. New friends will be found. Old love can die. New love will come along. Life is full of changes, some nasty surprises. But through it all, I stay strong and carry on. 'Cause nothing keeps a good woman down.
Absolutely. Nothing keep a good woman down or a good man down. We're joined by attorney Hugh Campbell. Good evening to you, Blondina. Philbert, thank you so much. Josephine Kelly in Texas, thank you so much for joining us. We're here and we thank everyone who is sharing this program, wherever you are watching this show on YouTube, Facebook, on Daniel page and Dion page and Sammy's page, Barbara page, wherever you are, we thank you so much. We are joined by attorney Hugh Campbell and we're expecting 2 more guests and I guess he would let us know if the doctor is in the house. I can hear someone background television. So, okay, so we're just waiting on the doctor, attorney Hugh Campbell, and we're waiting on Ty. So those are the 2 that we're waiting on right now. But in the meantime, get ready for a great show. We will be coming tonight with some exciting information that some of us, Hugh, can you hear us? Attorney Campbell, can you hear us? Good evening, Carlton Williams. I think you're in Florida. Good evening. Hugh, can you hear us? We can hear you, but...
Yes, I can hear you.
You could hear me now? Okay,
Yes.
Great. Okay. All right. So I know Ty is in at the hospital right now. We don't know the seriousness of it, but we just pray that it's nothing serious. But we're waiting. Should we be waiting on the doctor?
Yeah, let me see if I can get it.
Okay, so we could start the program. Okay, so we have folks who are waiting and watching and waiting for the show. But in the meantime, starting on my top, I can see manners and etiquette is right sitting next to me. Sometimes when you look at the screen, everyone see the screen differently. But from my view, I see I have the famous manners and etiquette. And when you hear someone with a name as manners and etiquette, you know she's deep. So I'm just here tonight. Barbara Gibson, how are you doing, Barbara? Introduce yourself.
Doing great. I'm Barbara Gibson, better known as Miss G. My theme is manners and etiquette and self-esteem. I'm about helping and caring about kids today. So that's what Miss G, my AKA is. Miss G. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Miss G. You hear that, Blondina? Manners and etiquette. Okay, Sammy, you're here? Okay, all right. So let them know that you're on and they cannot interrupt you at this moment. So we're here now. So Daniel, welcome. You're always one of the avid followers and listeners, Daniel. You don't miss the show. One of the biggest supporter. And we just got to tell you thank you.
Good evening.
Go right ahead, introduce yourself.
So first, good evening. Happy President's Day. My name is Daniel Silvera. I am a community activist against human trafficking and domestic violence and gun violence. Also, advocate for youth and cleanups in the parks and does other community engagements within the East Concourse Harbor section.
Great, great. We hear the word community activists. Okay. Daniel, Dion.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me. I'm County Committeeman Dion Powell in the 79th Assembly District here in the Bronx. I'm also a small business owner at Dion at nyconsultant.us. Little shameless plug. I consult Black-owned businesses, nonprofits, faith-based organizations, and special interest groups. We basically help them with their contracts, grants, funding, and more. I'm also shared this to my group, the Bronx, New York Free Thinking Democrats. And I'm also the city director of an organization called Blexit New York, standing for Black Exit. We're changing the narrative for African Americans. And that's it. Thank you, Ever.
Thank you. Okay. And we have the youngest of the youngest here tonight. And we just want to hear from Sammy. Sammy, tell the people who you are.
Well, good evening. My name is, well, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me. My name is Samara Moore Williams, and I'm here presenting like young people's opinions and decisions and stuff. I'm also representing from my church, my high school, and my family. And I also want to say just thank you for having me tonight, and I hope that you can agree with my opinions and also give your critiques and like what you think I should add on to everything that I'm going to say tonight. Thank you.
And how old are you, Sammy?
Oh, I'm 15 years old.
15 years old. We have a 15-year-old here tonight speaking like she's 35. I'm telling you, and it's good to hear from someone your age to be here with manners and etiquette. You're joined by someone whose name is Manners and Etiquette, okay? And you are joined also with Dion. You heard all that Dion does. Daniel, very involved in the community. And now we turn it over to attorney Hugh Campbell.
Good evening, everyone. Okay. I don't know if you can hear me, Avril.
Yeah, we can hear you. Keep talking.
Okay, great. Okay. Good evening. I'm Hugh Campbell. I'm a practicing attorney in the Bronx, and basically, I've done a tremendous amount of community work, work with youth, work with the elderly, work with just basic community organization, churches, and things of that nature. And I just want to thank you for having me today on this very, very important topic of Black history.
All right, and attorney Hugh Campbell, I guess he's like me. He says he do this, he do that, just a few things that he does. And for everyone who listening, I didn't hear him say he does divorce, he does accident, he does so much. And I think they call him the attorney, the political attorney. He represents everybody. And I know Barbara know that, right, Barbara?
Yes, I do. I'm very proud of him, and I'm glad to be with him this evening. I always enjoy his presence. Hi, Campbell.
Likewise, likewise.
All right,
Likewise.
and
Thank you.
tonight we're going to go into a program where we're going to be talking about we talk so much about Black history. Everything is Black History Month. Everybody talk about Black history the way they think of Black history. And for me, I think Sammy, we lost you just now. Sammy? Okay.
You're back.
Yes. Okay. So we tell them to stop interrupt you. You're on and you cannot. Okay. So you got to focus. Tonight, as I said, we have to pay attention to the fact that for me, I speak for myself. We use the word Black history, but we as Black people, we are not there. We are not there as a people. So when we talk about celebrating Black history, I don't know what it means to a lot of people. And for me, I think that if we're going to talk Black history, we need to talk about us as a people. And that's where Black history comes in. And I think maybe I will start with Barbara. I want to hear from Barbara. How does she feel about Black history, the celebration, the month? We celebrate it, as they say, 12 months out of the year. But in reality, this is our special month. But what do we consider Black history when we as a people cannot get together, cannot come together, cannot work together? We Black Lives Matter, but we're killing each other. There is so much to talk about tonight on this show about what is the reality of Black history. Let me hear, and especially we have someone manners and etiquette, Barbara Gibson.
Black History, Black History Month. It's a struggle. The word itself stands for a struggle, and we're still doing that. But we have accomplished quite, I can't even clear my mouth with that. But me personally, I didn't learn about Black history unless I went to different events because we weren't taught it in school, or we didn't realize what Black History Month is today. However, we can't give up, and each and every one of us tonight are Black history, with us contributing to our communities, to our kids, to the churches, to the seniors. So we have to classify ourselves too as Black history persons or people, or still striving to reach the goal that we have in front of us. But what is our goal? And the way it looks today, manners and etiquette went out the door. Self-esteem never came in the door, but we just can't give up. And I'm proud to be a person that in the future, I will be part of being part of the Black history person that did something caring and sharing. And that's what I consider a Black History Month person. They were caring, they were sharing, and it continues to go on.
All right. Let me hear
That's my statement.
Okay, you're cutting in and out, Barbara. But you said that's your statement for Black history.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right, we're coming back to you. And Sammy, as one of the youngest, 15-year-old, can you tell us something about what do you, in 15 years, tell me something about Black history that you understand.
Well, something about Black history that I understand is that we're not like appreciated enough, and like we don't like people, they don't like see us for like who we all really are. They just depict stuff on like the media, the news, and say like we're those kind of people, and we're really not. And I feel like Black History Month, we shouldn't just have February to ourselves. We should like have every single day to ourselves as Black people, and we should thrive more. And like Black people, they should try to get themselves out of that situation of like where there's gun violence, there's drugs, they're being imprisoned, and also they're being, taken away and stuff. In school, like they only teach you stuff like about Black people in the boats, and they came from Africa to the Americas and things like that. They just tell you about enslavement, and I feel like there's more to Black history than what they show in the books, and to the fact that all they ever talk about is the same stuff you've been learning from elementary about, how many slaves, how many times they beat these slaves, and how like they took them and used them as furniture. They had to pick cotton. Like you want to dig further and deeper into that history and actually show the worth of Black people and how far we've come and how far we're going to go. And that's what I want to say about what I think about my opinion on Black History Month.
Ooh, okay. You hear it from a 15-year-old. And Blandina, who is a teacher, is watching. So Blandina, they need to learn more. You hear it right here tonight. Daniel, what can you say about Black history?
But the main the question I have is, are we taking Black history more serious? The reason I say that is are we, how to say it? Are we, like, we all learn it in school, but are we learning it too, just passing regions or college students just for electives? Or are we using it to make a difference? So, example, today is President's Day. A lot of people think of, okay, Obama as the first black president. But locally, last year, well, more 2 years ago, going by order, Devon Richardson was the first black Queensboro president. And last year, Gibson was the first black woman president. So with these, are we looking at this as facts? Or to say, okay, they did it? Or are we looking at these who making history as, if they could do it, I could do it? Or we just ignore them and like, okay, yay, heroes, but that's not for me to change. Let other people do the change.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Dion?
Well, for me, Black History, the theme that I'm trying to do with my organization, especially Blexit, is to make Black history. And I always say, what are you doing? Let's make Black history, because there's a Black past, there's a Black present, which we all know now, all problems. But I'm more of a fictional person that believes in Afro and Black futurism. So what does the future hold? Let's make Black history. Back to what we are doing. With us, we're not supposed to be waiting on people to help us, or call somebody to help us to fix our problems and point out what the problems are. But what are you doing? Let's take me, for example, with Black history. For me, as a county committeeman, the first thing I do is let people know that I exist and that they can run for office too. They should run for office too, to represent their small area. I represent from 170th Street to 171st Street, from 3rd Avenue to Fulton Avenue. And that's my area. You want to make sure the people in there know you, bring information, resources to them, and the issues in their plates to the government, and vice versa. But I say that to say the future of our people, to make Black history, is to realize that the government and politics is not a spectator sport. Everybody should be involved, especially with identity politics in the Black realm, because the most powerful tool the man has is the ability to create and change the rules. And that's what's happened to us in the past. That's what's happening to us now in the present. And we should always keep that in mind for our future. Thank you.
All right. And good evening to you, Hilma in the Virgin Islands, Vivian Clark, Shakima Moore, and Ashima Williams, and everybody who is on. And we're learning from each other tonight, from the youngest, 15-year-old. I can't say who is the oldest here because, Attorney Hugh Campbell laugh. I don't know who is older here or that. So, what did you say, Barbara?
I am.
Okay,
I am.
you see? All right. So Barbara is the oldest.
I am the oldest.
All right. Barbara is the oldest. So we have the oldest here tonight and the youngest. Go ahead.
Yes. May I say that there's so much history around us from what our Black people have achieved that I don't know if we all really realize it, how much Black history we are playing today, wherein I am one of the oldest. I am amazed at all that I've learned and enjoyed seeing so many of my Black people achieving and still going forth. Although maybe our kids will learn about them in the future in the school books, but what I've learned myself is phenomenal. I'd be out with some of them that's making history. And it's like from right now, it's from the Capitol to the commissioner to the chancellor. It goes on and on and on. So Black history is about people stepping out and making a difference. And there is a difference happening, but we just don't feel like there's enough backing. But hopefully more backing will come with those that are in office.
All right, so the change come. I mean, I can hear it in the conversation in politics, but we as a people have to do our part. We have to do our part. And that's when we use the word so much community, but we have to step up and do our part. Politics and politicians alone cannot do it. And we're going to hear, we're coming back to Sammy, who is 15 years old. I just keep saying that because it's amazing to have a 15-year-old on the show tonight. And it's a great night. I am happy that we chose tonight because there's no school tomorrow. Attorney Hugh Campbell, what do you have to say to us as a people? Because you've been around too. And I know you know the ins and outs when it comes to politics, the courtroom, the different things that you see happening. I heard Sammy say that she hates to see us, getting arrested and all these things she need to change. So let me hear from you as a.
I think one of the things that she said, which struck me, is the fact that we don't talk about it enough. And I think that's one of our biggest problems. We don't sell our accomplishments. And we need to start selling our accomplishments because people view us in a certain way because we don't let people know how critical we are to the structure of where we are today. And I think Barbara said it, and one of the things that I do, and I wanted to share this because there's a book that when youngsters come into my office and they do interns or they work in the office, this is like mandatory reading, and it's called Created Equal, Black American Innovators. Now, basically, that book has been out of print for the longest, and I always wondered why it's out of print, because this is something that should be in every Black household. And every child should be reading this book, because when you read this book and read into the 1700s, the 1800s, as to all the creations, the inventions that we had coming forward, that is something that would inspire some of these young folks to have them understand that, no, we are not looking for handouts, because most of the things that we take for granted today were created by people that look just like us. So the question becomes, where did we lose that connection where we begin to understand that, look, we are just looking for something? No, we're not. We basically created a number of things that we all take for granted. When I say we all, I'm not talking about just people of color. I'm talking about everybody take for granted today. And I just think that one of the things we should do is, I wish we could have a big, petition drive to get this book back into publication, because I think it's a must read for every youngster. It should be in every household, because I searched the internet. I looked online just about every place, and I could not find it. But this is a book that I've had in my household for umpteen years, and everybody who comes into my office, I would require them to read it, because we need to know about our history, not just during the month of February, but we should know about it every time, because it tells you that you have a very rich past and we can do great things. And especially now, I mean, if people did that during, when we had segregation, when we had, lack of resources, could you imagine what we could do now with all the resources and the freedom and the collaboration that we have? And I think that's the mindset we need going forward.
But let me ask you, Attorney Hugh Campbell, do you really think that a lot of people read books anymore? Well, I will be honest. Do you think people are reading books anymore?
That's very unfortunate, because I think each of these books, when I bought them, I think I paid probably $10, $15 for them. And that's throwaway money, $10, $15 for a book. So, and I said the school should have it, because the school should not only be teaching about, the slave ships and all that stuff. What they need to do is to talk about the engineer that built the largest bridge in the whole United States was a Black person. We need to teach them about all of these things so they understand that the sky is the limit and we can do major things, but we just got to understand that we have that ability, and we do have the ability. We do have that ability.
We do. And the reason I say, do we read books anymore? I've noticed that. But do you think maybe they need to create the book online where people could probably go on and read? Because to me, that's where everybody lives now. Everybody lives on their phone. Everybody lives on their gadget. They Google everything. They want the quick fix. Who is John Doe? They click in John Doe and they say, okay, that's John Doe. They don't, I hardly see people anymore, unless they're in school like Sammy, who could tell me, and they're using certain history books, or like Blandina, who is a teacher, and Josephine Kelly, who is a teacher, watching this show, you give the children homework. I don't know if they give them books to go home and read anymore, because sometimes I wonder if the kids have homework. Sammy, what inspires you right now? What would you like to see yourself doing when you finish high school?
Well, what I want to see myself doing when I finish high school is that I want to open up my very own restaurant. And not just that, I also want to write a book, but like not a book where you like read like those hardcover books, but like a book that's online, like with pictures and a dialogue.
And why would you want, why you see yourself just opening up with all the restaurants out there? Why would you want to open, what inspired you to want to write, open another restaurant?
Well, because I know that I could come up with a different idea than from the other restaurants that there are today. And like I also can open up people to like new inspiration, new ideas, like, help people and inspire children of my age to like, go out in the world and do different things and like doing the ordinary stuff like they do, like becoming a doctor or like an officer or like a teacher. You could like think outside the box.
Okay, so you're saying your restaurant, you're going to come up with different ideas for restaurant. That's what you're saying.
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, that sounds different and that sounds creative, because we need that. We don't need just another restaurant that give me the rice and
If I may
peas.
say,
Yeah, go right ahead, Barbara. You were saying something, Barbara?
I think she might be frozen somewhat.
Yeah. Okay, so that's why.
regarding reading books, Midwest is the place that buy all the books, and they read because they have the weather and it's snowy. And at the present time, I have a book too that I feel that the kids need to have, and that's self-esteem, and they do not have it in the schools. But in the meantime, talking about reading, no, our kids do not read. And that's why I'm coming up with a booklet called 1, 2, 3, Manners and Etiquette and Self-Esteem for You and Me. But it's only 30 pages, 30 pages. Each chapter is 10. And it's to the point, because our kids do not read, but it's items that they really need to know. But hopefully they will in the future bring back this book that I have about self-esteem to help better our children that have behavior problems, and it needs to be in the schools.
So Barbara,
So
you've been around. Let me ask you a question, Barbara. Barbara, let me ask you a question. You have a book like that that could help the kids. What is it? Why is it so difficult to get it into the schools, or get help to get it into the school? Is there a problem?
They do not know how to approach manners and etiquette. And no, it's like overdue.
The question I'm asking you, if you have a book that can help the youths, the kids, why is it so difficult for someone to help you to get that into the schools?
As I say, I offered this book to the last chancellor, and the reply was that I have it already. Well, if you have it already, why are you not giving it or putting it in your schools? As I said, they do not know how to approach manners and etiquette and self-esteem. Half of the teachers can't even talk to their kids. Half of the school classes have 2 and 3 teachers. It's like communication is lost. So hopefully that this new book, 1, 2, 3, Manners and Etiquette for You and Me, and it's to the point, and hopefully I will get it published, to give an offer from A to Z. There's no limit on what you need to know, and it's to the point. for them to better themselves with their jobs, to interact with others. That's my goal. And I understand the young lady wants to be a chef in a restaurant of her own. Go for it, darling. By the time you get of age, I'm sure your recipes will go over tremendously. And go start writing on, get a topic for your book. This is my second book. Keep on, keeping on dreaming and reaching your goal.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Barbara. You hear that, Sammy? All right. She says, by the time you reach the age to do it, that change will be needed. So you have to start being creative now. And you're hearing from the experts, the folks that are older than you, the folks that could inspire you. You're going to one day see the Barbara Gibson on the road after tonight. And you're going to say, I remember manners and etiquette. And to sit down and have a conversation one-on-one with Barbara Gibson is going to be a life changer for you, because this is not just the regular friends in the school. So I'm just asking you now, you're coming up with these plans, and are you doing research? We're talking about Black history, and you're talking about in the school what they're teaching you. You know, I wish I can go back 15 years as your age now to see what's going on in the school, what they're really teaching. When we were growing up, we had chalk that they write on the board. By the time you leave there, everybody's hands are white. I don't think they're doing that anymore. Everybody is lost. How do you find it now, Sammy, with the technology that we're in, with the laptop, the iPad, and all these things? Do you think children are paying attention to sitting down and reading anymore, or they're more into their gadgets?
Well, I feel like they're more into their gadgets nowadays, because like since COVID hit, it hasn't been the same for like, like ordinary reading of books and stuff. Cause like right now, like in school, being like a 10th grader going on to 11th grade, ever since COVID started, I kind of lost the ending of 8th grade for me. I didn't really get to enjoy that, bit of freedom that I had left before COVID. And it changed from me reading books to now me sitting at home. And then, you get that urge of distraction, and you want to cheat, and you don't really want to pay attention to teachers. You don't want to email your teachers, do your homework, and then your grades start to fall. And then you try to like bring them back up. But that was like 2020. But now that I've come back in the building, I find it very hard to like, keep up with the lessons of what they're teaching me, and that they put like a lot of pressure and work on me, because I try to like keep up with the lessons, but like it's not the same how like they teach you. And like how in middle school they always said like, middle school is going to prepare you for high school. And I actually sat there and, listened, and I believed them that middle school was going to actually prepare me. And now that I'm in high school, I see that middle school didn't really actually prepare me at all, because now I'm actually learning new things and stuff. And like, take it upon my sister, I look up to her very much. And I always like ask her for help with my homework and my stuff. And she was the top of her class, and she doesn't even understand like what I do or like the stuff that I'm learning at school. I even asked my parents for help. They still don't understand. And if they can't help me, I'm going to do it for myself. And if the teachers can't help me, I'm still going to do it for myself. But I still like find it very hard to keep up nowadays with the technology and stuff. But like you're always going to like find a way around it. You could stick with your books. You could stick with the technology. I mean, that's really up to you. But by the end of the day, I feel like school doesn't really teach you what you need for the real world. Because when you finish school, like you have to really look back at it. What are you actually going to be using in the real world? Are you going to be using the geometry you learned? I mean, if you want to be an engineer and stuff, then yes. If you're going to be like, doing chemistry, biology, then you're going to be a scientist. Sure. You're going to be like working in the work of force. I mean, you're going to need to know English. If you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be using those kind of stuff. But by the end of the day, I mean, it's up to you. You choose your major, you do what you love, you find your passion. And yeah, that's basically what I have to say about that.
And it's amazing. I was talking about chalkboard, and a teacher just texted me and said, no, we use smart boards. Barbara, I never heard about that before. I didn't know. So thank you. No more chalks. We use smart boards. I gotta go now and find out what is the smart board, how it's used. Because see how things change from the time that I was going until now that you're going, Sammy. It's a whole big change. And teachers, if you're watching, listen to what Sammy's saying, because you can learn something tonight from this 15-year-old. And Barbara, let me tell you, when I first met this, I wouldn't say little girl, but when I met her, she was a little girl. And I had the mic and I was doing interviews, and I just happened to ask her a question. And I had the police officers from one police plaza came up to the Bronx to do a community event. And she got up and started speaking to the officers, and they all was amazed. They stand there, in shock,
Beautiful.
and that's how we met out
Beautiful.
in the community with her mother. Every place you go, her mother has her out there. And I was so amazed by her speaking that it turned into Auntie Avril, the respect, the Auntie Avril. And every time you turn around, I'm looking for this little girl, Sammy. This little girl, Sammy. Then one day when we spoke, I said, but she's not the little girl anymore. She knows what she
Not at
wants.
all.
And this is what amazed me. Smartboard is on the computer. Catch you and say, okay, I look it up, or just go on my phone and Google what is smartboard. That is what's going on today. Everything we Google, but we don't Google the right thing. Because let me tell you something. When I said to Dion tonight, we as Black people, we don't support each other. That's number one. The support is not there. We're not busy building each other, no matter how you look at it. It's a few builders and it's a few grabbers and a few takers in the communities. It circulates, but it don't circulate where it building different people. Just tonight we was talking about some of the things that we do. Who is pulling who up? Now I want to see someone like Sammy doing my show. I want to create things for these young people. I don't need to be always out there doing it. It's time to pass it on. It's time for me to empower her. I gave her the mic a couple of years ago. I gave her everything and I said, listen, you can talk, do it. And she shocked me until today. And listening to her now, it's not the little Sammy anymore. So my thing is, what are we doing for the young people? Now, here my acts talking about chalkboard, where they got to tell me, no, we don't do that anymore. It's now smart board. So as Sammy mentioned, she has to ask her mother. And if her mother don't know, it doesn't say anything less about her. It says that things have changed. We don't do it your way anymore. That's what's going on here. So who is educating us? We have to educate ourselves now to keep up with the youngsters. But we got to pay attention. Now, if we have children, we have to keep up with what's going on with the youths now. That's the way I look at it. I was watching Sesame Street on Friday night and they were laughing at me. And I said to my son, no, you got me into that. And I'm still looking at Sesame Street. And I learned so much from watching Sesame Street. And I said, oh my goodness, I didn't know that that's here in the Bronx. So what I'm saying to you, as parents, sometimes we also got to pick up that book and see what our kids are learning. What do you think, Dion?
Well,
let me say this.
Wait, Barbara, hold on, Barbara. Go ahead, Dion. Wait, Barbara.
You said
go ahead. No, Dion was speaking. Give me a minute. Go ahead, Dion.
Well, I got to commend Sammy. The word of God says, seek and you shall find. Okay? Because right now you're seeking a lot of knowledge and you're not letting anything stop you from achieving that knowledge. You also said something that's very key that even I felt as a youth about Black history going, I'm tired of seeing the slavery and them singing songs and all the suffering and the Jim Crow. I want to see something positive during Black History Month. So it's incumbent upon you to do that. Maybe you want to turn that off. And maybe you want to start your own show with Miss Avril here to talk about all the positivity and those historical images throughout the time with George Washington Carver, all the wonderful things he was the peanut kind of deal. And I want to talk about education, for example. We're all talking about what the school should do. And if these children can't, even on the 8th grade reading level, read the book the Mr. Hugh showed, it's not worth adding any Black history to the curriculum. That's why at Blexit, we promote a concept called school choice, in which parents have more power to send their children to the school they're choosing. One of the things that we promote is homeschooling, which gives the parents ownership of their children, access to capital, access to leadership. And back in the 60s, 40s, and 30s, they used to pull their children from the public schools. Nobody remembers that tactic in order to get the education they wanted. So, and also we promote vouchers. The reason that the government and the teachers union demonize the voucher system for education, and Mr. Hugh can correct me if I'm wrong, is because vouchers can't be mismanaged. So if my niece goes to public school and she can't get a tablet because of the COVID situation, and I show them like, "Where's my niece's tablet?" and they say, "Mr. Powell, we ran out of tablets." What was that about? You know, I went to Catholic school for 12 years. My grandma took me out of public school, put me in Catholic school, and they wrote pennies together, and not an item was lost. Everything was accounted for, you know, and Catholic schools, you know, they get less money than the public schools. So I'll conclude by saying, Miss Sammy, you can open your business now. Back in our day, there's something called lemonade stand. Okay, you can cook and prepare your food, make a little flyer, brochure, and have a table outside your house to sell your food. You can go to your school as well and talk to your teacher or principal. Say, "Hey, you know, I want to do a fundraiser. I'll donate my food and prepare my food or my little flyer and catering, and I'll sell my goods to raise money for my school, whatever activity there may be, or T-shirts and so forth." So the sky's the limit, and you know, you have the hunger in your belly, and that's the things that we have to teach our young people. But another thing I want to encourage you too, Sammy, I went to Africa twice this year. I mean, last year rather. And Africa, all these things we're talking about are unconscious. There's no such thing as black owned. It's just they exist. They don't have to walk around and force themselves to love each other and all these other things. But you're doing good. We're here to support you. All things that you need. So back to you, Miss April.
Thank you. Let me turn it back over to Barbara Gibson, who was saying something. Hold on, Daniel. Barbara, go right ahead. Barbara? I guess she's frozen. Okay, Daniel, go right ahead until Barbara come back.
Yeah, so one of the reasons why I'm a community leader, because when I was 6 years old,
we're back to reading. We're back to reading.
Barbara, I don't know.
I say we're back to reading. And
okay,
if
I think she's
go
coming
ahead,
in
Barbara.
and
Yeah, she's coming in and out.
Okay.
Barbara, can you hear us? Go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, so one reason I'm a community leader is because when I was 6 years old, I would attend the community board for.
Can you hear me?
You're coming in and out, Barbara. We're not hearing you.
We're not hearing you, Barbara. You keep coming in.
Can you hear
and
me?
out.
Yeah, we can
hear you.
But we're back to reading. You can have a tablet, but if you don't know how to read.
Yeah, her connection is not working.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, so one reason I'm a community leader because I attended community board for since I was 6 years old, and she back on.
Go ahead, talk.
Okay.
Barbara, hold on, Barbara. Go right ahead, Daniel. Finish.
So
can you hear me now?
Barbara, hold on because you're cutting in and out, and someone is speaking every time you come back. Go ahead.
So even though what I'm finally trying to do this year is apply for a community board, but when I was younger, one good thing that Sammy have, well, maybe for in 2 more years that I didn't have is when you turn 16, you could join the community board. Another good thing is,
yes, sir.
Based on my new councilwoman, she put more money in summer youth. So there are more opportunity for young people that I didn't have while I was in middle school and high school. More community engagement opportunities.
They're coming, Sammy, and tonight going to open your eyes more. And as you know, as you look around when we talk about changes, we see the change. We see the change in our new Bronx Board president. We see the change in Mount Vernon, our mayor of Mount Vernon. We see the change in council members. We see the change in the mayor of New York. Okay. So when we're talking about change, there's so many change, and there is younger people coming up now in the political world that we never seen before. Because growing up, I used to think you have to be a big woman or a grown man or somebody like that to be a politician. You learn as you grow, and it all depends on how you associate yourself to. That's also is important. Be careful who you surround yourself with. That's important too.
Can I add
But
something? Ms. Ava, I
yes,
just want to add something on top of that. You too, when you turn 18, can run for office, either in a pro bono role, which means free elected official like yourself, or someone up there. It's not that hard to do. In addition, I just want to let you know the Bronx County has the youngest population of elected officials in New York State. So that means all of our elected officials here mostly are around, early 30s. So you can do it too, okay?
if that's what you want to do, because everybody ain't called to be a politician. Because I think listening to her goal is business. Business. And one of the business is to take on this show and move forward with it. Because I'm going to see to it that you're standing behind the mic because you can do it. Barbara, are you back with us? Are you back with us, Barbara? Okay, Attorney Hugh Campbell, you were saying something. Go right ahead.
No. I think everybody just hit the nail on the head, and I think one of the things that we need to really and truly pay a lot of attention to is that we have a tremendous amount of economic resources in our communities. And the question becomes, how do we make sure we circulate those resources for our communities day after day after day? And, the young lady, she wants to do a restaurant, and and I think financial resources should not be an issue for her to establish a restaurant. And when we talk about Black history, and I think Dion said something which was very critical.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Barbara, we can hear you, but
can you hear me?
Barbara,
yeah. Yes, I'm
we
back.
can hear you. Okay, all right. Attorney Hugh Campbell.
You can't hear me, huh?
Barbara, yes, we can hear you.
You're coming in and out. But I think, I think one of the things that's very, very important in terms of where we are and where we go is to who do we see around us? Who do we see doing things around us? And I think what we have in the Bronx, we have a lot of elected officials, but I would like to see more creators, more inventors, more business people, so that the youngsters can emulate those business people. Because and I share this because I remember as a kid, coming home from school, I used to walk by a gas station, and I used to stop in there and chit chat with the guys there. And I think one of the things that was I always found very impressive was the fact that the owner of that mobile gas station was a Black person who looked just like us. And honestly, it was something that was very, very fulfilling. And as I look around, I say, how many Black folks do I know that own gas stations now? So sometimes I feel as if we're going backwards as opposed to moving forward. And the question is that how do we really start moving forward and continue to move forward? Because I think sometimes we slip. When I first started in the court system, and I never forget, there was one lady who used to come to court, and all of the guys, all the landlords that were down in housing court were all, older white males. And there was this one Black lady who was always there. And the reason why she was always there, because she owned a couple of houses herself and she was a landlord. So how do we, kind of get back to those positions where we own properties, we own businesses, we own assets, we own things, because we don't want to, the youngsters coming up that says, we're only consumers. No, they need to know that we can own things and we can make our own decisions moving forward.
Very good, Mr. Campbell. Oh,
yes,
sorry.
That is good. Sorry, Dion. That is so interesting to hear. But Attorney Hugh Campbell, that's where you come in. That's where you come in. Because
I preach that a lot.
And I know you preach that a lot. But let me say something. Tonight we're doing this show. It's information that's important. I guarantee you, there are going to be people that watch the show tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day. But they know the show is on. But if there's a show on tonight where a big artist is performing, and they're on stage and they're doing all what I don't want to discuss, they'll be watching that and they'll watch this later. Because see, but later you would hear somebody say, I have my child and this is going on in school and I don't know this. But here's Sammy talking about it. Here's Dion talking about it, but they're not listening. Here you are talking about these things, but they're not listening. But then these are the same people say they don't know. Education and information, our community people, we are lacking what's important. Because if you put something down that is some big celebrity on, they got millions of views. I mean, they pay. This is a show. It's different. But our people, they're not connected to what's going on around us. They want you to feed them. They want you to bring it to them. But to sit down and watch this show and learn something from Barbara Gibson and attorney Hugh Campbell and Dion and Daniel, who's speaking about what he does in the community to encourage them. Because if you encourage a mother, you're encouraging a child. Because if you teach that mother something tonight, she could teach a child. I learned so much from hearing about Sammy in the school system. There's parents that is watching that need to understand. You got to pay attention to what your kids are learning. And I think that just some parents will send their kids to school and expect you better listen to the teacher. And that's where it ends. So Barbara, are you back with us? Are you back with us,
Can you
Barbara?
hear me?
I can hear you. You're back?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, yes. So
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Barbara.
O- Okay, the kids have these pads, but if you don't know how to read and understand what you're reading to pass the test, there's no need to have the pad. And that's our problem with our children today. They do not read. And the percentage of the kids that have the pads or that are passing is because they can read and understand and able to pass the test. And I'm very sorry to hear so many parents say, oh, my kid can't catch up, or my kid, yes, because the parents is watching this or doing that instead of trying to assist or help the kid find out what the word means and what the answer would be. So this tablet don't mean a thing. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you so much.
Okay, you
Go
go
ahead.
on, Dion. Huh?
Go ahead, Dion.
I just want to add on to what Brother Campbell stated. And Miss Averill, you are actually putting to motion the answer to your question how to make change. you show Miss Moore Williams' capability, and you gave her the hand up, not the handout, right? Because that's a big problem we have here. So I'm going to give some tools and resources that will empower everyone on this platform, even you, Miss Sammy, to make a change and get the information and resources necessary. You can Google something as simple as who represents me NY or who represents me New York. You put in your address, and then all the comprehensive elected officials and community board go there. So I don't know if you want to write this down, Sammy, or write it down with your eyes, as they say when I used to go to school. Okay, when you go there, you're going to call your elected official that represents your address, and you're going to say, hey, my name is Sammy. I'm a constituent. That is a vocabulary word. What can you do for me? Then you sit back and you let them amaze you. Okay? Any issue or concern, like, hey, I want to go to college for free. Where's the free money for college? Sit back and let those people amaze you. If they can't do that, then that means you're going to have to, when you turn 18, put somebody in there, or you have to become that person. In addition, 311. These things are hidden in plain sight. You can call 311 again. They're getting paid 24 hours a day to sit at a computer on the phone and just do this. If nobody calls them, they still get paid. But if you call 311, ask them anything in the world other than if it's snowing outside and you have to go to school, where's my free college tuition money? You call them with that too. That's your parents' tax money. And lastly, there's a lot of things out there that you got to keep focused on. All this other stuff you hear around about the slavery and this and that, we can't do this. No, you could do anything you want. For me, Black history and all sufferings and stuff that holds back is like a knife in an old wound, right? But in the back of my mind is here, up here is being focused. Did you know, Sammy, you can invest in the stock market now? Even I didn't know you can invest in the stock market when you're 5 years old in cryptocurrencies. Look into that to empower yourself. All right. And I used to go to a high school up in Northeast Bronx called Spelman. My classmate, she's a dean there now. She said, Dion, you have to teach these young people. They can't change the world. They can only change what they can control. And the first thing you can control is you. So if you can't control yourself and your behavior, then you can't transform the world around you. So I encourage you. These are tools and resources you can. Everybody here is to support you. And whatever you need, contact me, Miss Averill, and let's keep moving. And then you can identify your peers that you give the hand up, not the hand out. Remember, you can't save the Black universe. You can only save you first, then your family, then your friends, and do a little bit more outward. But that's what I want to add as well, okay?
Thank you so
Those,
much.
remember those resources, 311, and Google who represents me, New York, and go there, find your community board, and you call them up, you email them, say, hey, I'm Sammy, what can you do for me?
Daniel?
Yes.
I see you talking, so go right ahead.
Okay.
Good evening to you, Empress, and happy birthday, Empress Wright.
Based on well, first, happy birthday to that person. Second, I'll respond to what you say. Our problem is, we're not on us on the show, but problem with Black people is the priority. So, example, why are parents they're faster to be on sneaker line to get the new Jordans, but they don't attend a parent-teacher conference. Level school is like 100, but 5 parents come there. We got priority problems. Or like I was attending community board meetings, people wouldn't want to go. But when they have a new building or a new project that's driving them crazy, or now we want to go. Where is your priority?
All right. Janice Martin, you hear that? Listen, Attorney Hugh Campbell, priority Daniel spoke about. And that's what we're talking about tonight. Black
I
history,
think I think
and he said it right. Go right ahead, Hugh.
no. I think it's important, and I think you said priority is very critical. And I think one of the things that I also want to say, especially to the younger folks, you see, we can all we can do our little part, and sometimes we have a tendency to feel that we have to have a big movement in order to accomplish something. No, we can all do something very little, and as long as you do your little part and don't wait for someone else to say, let's do something, because if I can think about all the organizations that I've been involved in, over the past couple of years, and all of it was service oriented. And what happened very frequently is that, when you move into another position, then it dies because there's nobody behind to really carry the mantle. And I think that becomes very, very important, is that, always get involved in something where you can make an impact. One of the things that we used to have, which we no longer have, is that we no longer have a very strong, if you want to say, church base, because the church used to be one of those places where you can go and they would mold you and give you an alternative, because, they would have some type of after school program. Some people would, they would mentor you, they would do things of that nature. But unfortunately, you don't find that much folks going to church anymore. So there is that void. But in the community, we can still do things in the community. Youth employment and incentive programs. I mean, these are things we can do. And we don't have to have everybody involved in the same program, because if we have one in the East Bronx, one in the southern part of the Bronx, one in the West Bronx, North Bronx, in essence, if we help 2 individuals, that is an enormous amount of assistance. So I think that we can really strive to help individuals as opposed to trying to tackle a big problem sometimes, as John said, because sometimes we go for the big issue and we accomplish nothing. Whereas if you build one brick at a time, you can get that building built in no time.
Yeah, and Brother Hugh said it very key, which is servant, and also faith-based leadership. For example, there's a concept from the church called servant leadership, okay? And my grandmother was very big on being a leader, not a follower, and also leading by example. And the fastest way to change your mindset overall is the church. It's a higher power, because that's the only thing that really changes the mindset, and that's the issue. We've all identified the problem, and we always identify a problem.
But you know something, as Attorney Hugh Campbell says, and if you take a good look around, the church, we lost Barbara. The church are falling behind today. We're losing, and one of the reasons that I think we're losing a lot of young people from the church, our young people are leaving us and going off to college, and then they relocate to another state. There was a time where you finish school and you go to college and you go to the community college and these things. But now the majority of our young people, they can't wait to get out their parents' house, so they run away to college. So now they leave the church and they leave all the older folks in the church. So the older folks are not going away to college, it's the young people. But what are we doing to keep them here? It's just an escape for them. I assume at one time is an escape for them to leave their parents' home. So they say, oh, I want to go away to college. So I want to know what education they're getting out of state that they're not getting here in our borough. So we got to focus on that and also work on that. That's my take. I don't know. So Sammy, I hope you don't plan to go away to college. You stay here after college and do your business, because hey, one day you're going to be doing what Avril is doing. I gave you the mic how many years ago? Probably how many years ago? And I know you can carry on this torch. So that's your first thing, because you're going to be out there talking about your business. You're going to be out there empowering other young people. So I got to make sure that I can sit home one night and just be quiet while you lead the young people to teach us and educate us and talk to us, because sometimes we don't know everything. And we want to hear it from you, because you are the new Black history. The Sammys. Go right ahead, Hugh.
No, but I was going to say, but I think
Okay.
you can still go away to college, but as long as you come back and you provide the services, that's what's critical. Because too often we have folks that leave for college, but they don't really come back and provide services to the community. And you know, one of the things I remember when I started practicing law in legal services, right there on Kingsbridge or right off Fordham Road. That's where I started practicing, and I went into private practice. But notwithstanding the fact that I went into private practice, I still stayed involved with legal services and stayed on their board and render services, to the community, because again, there was a need. And I think where we see a need, we have to fill that void and provide services. And I can't overemphasize the service part of it, because we are very capable of a lot of things. And but when I look to my left and look to my right, sometimes I feel lonely, because there's not enough folks that are actually there doing things. And I think if indeed we really and truly want to further the Black cause, we have to get more folks on board to start doing things. We have to teach our youngsters. We have to mentor them. Sometimes we have to get tough and tell them, look, no, that's not going to work. We've got to focus and move forward. And sometimes it's tough love. And I think Barbara knows it, because she does that very often. But sometimes one of the most gratifying things, Avril, is when a youngster calls me up and says, look, you know what? I just graduated from law school and I want you to write a recommendation for me. And I knew that youngster worked for me at some point in time when they were in school. So it's something that we all have to thrive for, and we can do it.
But what about the doors?
Oh.
What about the doors, Attorney Hugh Campbell? Do you think the doors are really open enough for our young people and people who, it's like work. We talk every day about new opportunities, and we vote and we want to change. But what about the opportunities? Are they really there as much as the young people are looking for those opportunities? I know we can create our own. We can create our own opportunities, but not everybody. But where are the places that we know? We have places in the Lower Bronx, and we have places where they have training and they do this and they do that. But we're in the Northeast Bronx, and there's different places and people who don't know where the resources are. So what about those doors of opportunities that are not really open to the young people who want it?
We have to create opportunity, and the way how we create opportunity is start spending our money in a sensible manner. Okay? If we don't spend our money in a sensible manner, we can never create opportunities, because too often we spend our money, but we don't think about what that money is being spent for. And you know, if I go out and I support an organization that don't support my cause, then I'll be wasting my money. I have to spend the money in the community with the folks who actually look out for my cause and my objective, and not only mine, because I'm not selfish, but my neighbor. Someone who is going to support my neighbor, because if I pick up the phone and say, look, I want you to give so-and-so a job, or I want you to at least give them an interview, I want to know that person is going to respond. That's what I need to know.
Well, I think we have a pioneer just joining us who could educate us and educate all of us. But until he joined, yeah, you were saying something, Barbara?
Oh.
You were saying something, Barbara? Barbara, are you with us? Hold on,
no,
Daniel.
No,
Barbara, are you with
I'm just listening. And yes, can you hear me?
You're cutting in
you
and
can't
out.
hear me again, huh?
You're here. We can hear you. I don't know if you're hearing us. Okay, Daniel, you were saying something?
Yeah, I hear you all.
Okay, all right. Okay. Go ahead, Daniel.
Reflecting Mr. Campbell's statement, one where he was talking about us, you know, doing stuff. I could remember one of the statements that our ball President Gibson tend to say. Even when she was in City Council Assembly, she tended to say, "You don't need a title to do something in your community." That's first thing. Second thing, when you were talking about the churches, as a person who's also involved in urban ministry, is that what's been going on now is we've been having faith-based organizations. So basically non-church ministries that are doing stuff. So I could give you like Young Lives, you got Seekers, you got Crew. They are out there. They just need to grow more. But as I say, it's not church format, but they are out there. Lastly, we need a network of organizations to come together to say that, hey, you know me, I know you, I know this young person, because from the beginning we were saying that we are separated, we're not together. And sometimes that's the problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Togetherness.
Yes. So sometimes I think that's the problem also with youth finding a job, and also youth find mentors.
That's it.
Yeah, because even though Sam might have a great mentor at Arvel, but do anybody else have like a TV host mentor? Or should I say wonderful mentor? Because you're all wonderful.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much, Daniel. And I always see you. And one thing I'm going to say about you, you're all over when it comes to the community, and you're always promoting what's going on in the community. You're out there. I don't know. Sometimes you always push me. Oh, you're going to be our next leader. I say, I don't want to be no politician after Vanessa Gibson and Tish James and these people, because they already break every ceilings. They're breaking glass ceilings. But tonight, listen.
But you're uptown, so after Kevin Riley, you could be the next 12th district.
2023.
8 years, okay?
2023.
All right. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. But guess what? We are joined by, listen, this young man that just joined us, Dr. Edlo. If you think we know something, we're talking to a pioneer, a leader, a man who can tell us that he witnessed the Martin Luther King. When we born, we hear about Martin Luther King, and we heard all these great things about Martin Luther King and the march and the protest. But when Dr. Ed Lowe can say, I was there, you know, I remember, but he's still here with us tonight, joining with a 15-year-old Sammy, meet Dr. Lowe, Deanna, Daniel, Barbara Gibson, Attorney Hugh Campbell, welcome Dr. Ed Lowe to the platform. Dr. Ed Lowe, are you with us? Because I see you're muted.
I think he's still having difficulty connecting his audio. Yeah, he just put a.
I'm trying to unmute him, but I cannot unmute him because.
No, he's having difficulty. He just sent a message that he's having difficulty connecting.
I wonder why. And yeah, he's muted. He's muted, so he has to unmute. Right. Once he unmute, he will be okay. So that's. Right. I think that's why we can't hear him. So Dr. Lowe, if you can hear us, just press the unmute button. And just looking at his background, you can tell a lot about him. The music, the background is so refreshing. So we can hear you now. Just go right ahead and speak, and let's see if we can hear you. Yes, his audio. Okay, yeah, he muted again. So Dr. Lowe is a man of information. And when we're talking about Black history, he could take us from Black all the way back past Black. Because if you can walk with Martin Luther King and be there and can tell us the Martin Luther King story, then you really have lived. And he's still here looking fresh as ever. So Sammy, these are the people who could tell you, because when I'm talking about chalkboard, I got to be corrected. No, we don't use chalkboard anymore. Okay, Blondine, I heard you. But that was the days. And I used to love chalkboard because when the teacher used to be there talking about shoe writing and I'm back there. Let me tell you, if I tell you how much trouble I give with those chalkboard and how much problems I've caused when teachers leave their classroom in a black skirt, they was wearing a white skirt, because that was it for me. I used to put it all over the board because I don't want no homework. You know, we give our sheer trouble to Sammy. And one of the things I have as grown-ups, we seem to make the children feel like, oh my God, you all are trouble, you all this. And back in our days, we wasn't this. No, we wasn't rude. We used to have this thing, even now we say, stoops our teeth. But we better do it in the room where our mother don't hear us. Now the kids are doing it in front of their mother, rolling their eye. They have all kind of body language and thing carried on with. I don't know where they come from, but that's the new era. So these are things that we have to talk about on the new show coming up, which is the Sammy Show. Dr. Ed, are you back with us?
Yeah, I had to switch computers.
See, that's what I'm talking about. A man like Dr. Ed Lowe, who be back in the days of Martin Luther King, said, I had to switch my computers. People like me now will be home saying, what's wrong? What happened? But a man with experience can tell you, just switch the computer. Dr. Lowe, welcome back to the show.
You always have to have backup. That's the first thing I learned from the Navy. Never have one pair of glasses.
You heard it here, and you're joined tonight by the most famous attorney in the Bronx, not the one who sits and gadgets all day and posts and all that. You hardly see him post. You ain't gonna find that, but he's just a man that's in the courthouse winning cases and making people say, oh, here goes that attorney again. I hear the afraid of him in the courtroom, but I only sit and watch. I never had to deal with him. But other people that had cases with him, Dr. Ed, they say, man, he's a bulldog in the courtroom, so he's going to win. He said, I'm not in here to try a case. I'm here to win cases. So you see, those attorneys are silent, but the ones that make noise, you have some attorneys out there, they make noise when they get a case that they're not going to settle tomorrow. Because we don't rally and fight and demonstrate. We know they're going to win the case. So they say, oh, yeah, I'm the attorney. But they had not much to do. But you have a man like Attorney Hugh Campbell who have to gather information and have a pile of paper in his office trying to find what he needs to win this case. Now that's a real attorney. So you're joined by Dion here, Daniel, a 15-year-old Sammy who is here to learn from you, and Barbara Gibson, who is about manners and etiquette. Welcome, Dr. Ed Lowe.
Well, thank you. What you had to say about Hugh, I can only endorse.
You got to talk a little bit louder, Doc.
I said what you said about Hugh, I can only endorse. Last Friday, Hugh, we spent reviewing a case for you.
Yep.
So. The key thing here, I've heard some of the later conversation. One point about the failure of the church as an organization. The Black church has always been the backbone of our community. And it's where we learn our skills in governance. Remember, Robert's Rules was written by a Baptist preacher in order to control a church meeting. Okay, I mean that's what it was.
You see this book?
Yeah.
You can actually become. I'm starting to be a parliamentarian, man. You can do it too, parliamentarian.
I've got mine right behind me. The other point that was made is the issue of service. Young professionals starting out have to remember that they have been given an opportunity which most people do not have. And as the Bible says, to those to whom much is given, much is expected. I mean, it's the principle that I learned from my mother, who started out practicing law on Washington Avenue and 163rd Street, right across from the old criminal court building, taking 18 due cases, which is the legal equivalent of Medicaid, for those who don't know the terminology.
Can everybody hear Dr. Lowe? You can hear?
You gotta get a little bit closer, Doc.
I don't know how much closer.
That's much better. Much better.
What's my volume?
Much better.
My volume's at 100%. So
No, you're good. You're good now.
This is the best I can get.
Okay.
Anyway, we have got to serve our community as young. Those of us who've had the privilege of going to college and getting higher education, getting professional training. That's what we should be about. One of the things that people don't realize is that what broke up the Black or the African American community in the United States was integration. As soon as we were no longer walled off from the larger society.
Don't go there, doctor. Don't go there. They're not ready, man. They're not ready.
No. I mean, it's nice to be able to have the freedom to shop and go where you wish. But if you're not supporting your own community and recirculating your own economic power within your community, if that dollar is not circulating 6 times within the community, if I'm not going to my brother lawyer, my brother dentist, my shopkeepers in my community, when I go to the shop and I pay the gentleman, he says thank you. I say no, thank you for being here. I'm shopping here to keep you in in business, so I have the convenience of coming to use your business. We've got to learn to support ourselves and stop being crabs in a barrel.
Let me just.
So how can we? Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to, since you came on late, Doc, to just do the introduction. Because Dr. Lowe is actually a physician who basically served in the armed forces, and he was a medic in the armed forces, and he still practices medicine in the Bronx. And you heard him reference his mother when we talk about Black history. And when we won the last time, I said, I owe somewhat of a debt to his mom because his mother was an attorney in the Bronx who sat in the Bronx and ended up to serve on the federal bench, and someone who I knew very well prior to her passing. So when we talk about Black history, yes, indeed, I can say that Dr. Lowe's family is a family that I stand on their shoulders, being where I am today. So this is typical of my Black history, sharing today.
So, Attorney Hugh, what you're saying to us is that you're an icon. You have
No, no,
someone.
I'm not
You,
saying
no,
I.
no, 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 no. This. Good evening, Anela Brown. You are just one of those people who taking us so far back that you're making me start to wonder now. How old is Attorney Hugh Campbell? Because when you hear Dr. Ed Lowe talk about walking with Martin Luther King and you're telling me your history, then you're making me wonder, did you ever walk with Martin Luther King?
No, I did not.
Okay. All right, but it's good to be in company with somebody who did. Dr. Edlow is a man with a lot of experience and knowledge. And Sammy, you're 15 years old and you're on a show with Dr. Ed Lowe. That's something that you can share with your friends. I met Dr. Ed Lowe. Now the question is, who is Dr. Ed Lowe? So we're talking history here. And when you come back, you need the education because you're learning from everyone.
Mhm.
So when you start doing your show, you'll be able to speak. Now, Avril is not going to be there hosting with you. You have the show now to yourself because now we want to sit at home and hear from the young people now. Where are they going? What are they doing? What are their plans? So the next show, the Sammy Show, is coming. But you have to have people like Dr. Edlow who can educate you, Attorney Hugh Campbell who can educate you. Everybody here is an educator. And you heard someone, Manners and Etiquette, Barbara Gibson, who is here in the Bronx all over the place. And I know you have seen Barbara, but apparently was never introduced to Barbara because you've been in my circle. So go ahead, Daniel. You were saying something.
Yes, for Dr. Lowe. Well, first, for being in the military, thank you for your service.
Don't thank me. You paid for the gas.
Second of all, with the black and black support, how can we bring that back?
I don't think I have a simple answer for that. We've got to raise consciousness. We got to start with young folks like Sammy and inculcate in them the sense of obligation, noblesse oblige, that I owe my people my best efforts. I owe my people what I can do to help. That means I have to be responsible for my own personal behavior and character. I've got to consider, when I was growing up as a teenager, I don't know, you Sammy, you're 15? Sammy, can you hear me?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you're 15. Well, when I was 15, we liked to hang out, and one of the places we used to hang out was Reverend John Getzel's house. Reverend Getzel founded the jazz ministry at St. Peter's. Okay, that's where I got to meet Duke Ellington as a teenager. After Hebrew youth group at my church, instead of going home, we'd all go down to Reverend Getzel's house and hang out. And when I missed the last train home, I'd call my folks and say, "Look, I'm at Reverend Getzel's. I'm gonna stay the night." Everybody gave me a problem with it. Okay, but you've got to be careful and guard your character. Be considerate. There are things that some of the kids that I knew were doing, I could have done. I could have ended up in an entirely different path in life. I've worked at Rikers briefly. I could have been an inmate at Rikers. One of the things that kept me from doing some of those things was to consider the fact, what would my parents say? I would embarrass my mother and father. I had an obligation to not embarrass them. Of course, there's a joke in our family when my mother commissioned me into the Navy, because she's the one who swore me in. You know, I used to tell her, Mama, I'm an officer and a gentleman by act of Congress, and she'd say yes. It took an act of Congress.
Sorry, Dr. Edlow. I just like have a quick question. So, like, my main question for you is like, where do you like see Black people in the future? Like, where do you see them?
Um, Pretty much where we are. Pretty much, I see us where we are. We've been struggling for almost 200 years now since our emancipation from slavery, and I come from people who were enslaved in the South. Um, we have grown as a community, and we have fallen apart as a community. You know, we've lost our way along the way.
Um,
Now,
but
I,
like,
Wait, Sammy.
sorry
Let
to,
him finish.
I, can't,
yeah, yeah, I am.
I can't give you a crystal ball where I see. You know, I'm not prone to pontificating in that sense. You know, if we do, I know this much: if we don't change what we're doing and the way we're doing it, we're doomed to continue to repeat the cycle. And so many of us are lost in in the cycle of poverty due to poor choices.
Go ahead, Sammy. You was asking a question.
Well, I understand, like, I agree and like disagree with you at the same time, but like,
Okay,
also, like, with this new upcoming, like, bringing with this, new generation with the electronics, the technology, and us seeing like the world like in a whole new light, like, I feel like there's like a chance. I don't know about anyone else, but I feel like there's like a chance for us as a community of Black people, people of color, like, there is a change that we can make in this world. I know that sometimes the older generation, like, they don't agree with us. They look at us just for like, things they see in us, like, our jobs or like what we want to be. But I feel like there's like a percentage of chance that we can make and we can like change the world.
well, Sammy, let me tell you. First of all, the quote older generation doesn't necessarily look down upon you. Oftentimes, they look at you and your potential with envy because you have more in front of you than we have behind us. Well, I should say we have more behind us than we have in front of us, and you got your future. Um, I want to admonish you that you're going to school to get an education, not to get a job. Some of you heard me say this before. You go to school to get an education to make your job.
Hey, Miss Sammy, now's your time.
Hold on. Let Dr. Ed finish. Go
Oh,
ahead, Dr. Ed.
yeah. There was something else that you said that I wanted to hit on, but I'll until I can recall what it is.
What was that, Sammy, that you said
I want
about the technology and you talk about the technology?
sweetheart, there's nothing new under the sun. Okay, there is nothing new under the sun. The technology that you take as a given was developed by people in my generation. You know, we're talking now on a over a computer network and wires that was developed by people who I knew. Ward Christensen and I used to communicate. Now, he invented what's called the CRC, cycle redundancy count. The reason you can get your data over the internet through packet switching, and make sure that the packets are coming and you're getting them in the proper order and are able to reassemble the message. Is because of what Lloyd Christensen did. You know, there's nothing new. By the time you get to the what you would consider middle age, maybe you've got your children, you're going to be amazed at how native they're going to be to the new technology or the technology that will be new for you. Technology is going to move forward. So I mean, and understand the stuff that you're dealing with, the issues that you're dealing with in your life. I've dealt with them. There's been nothing new under the sun. You know, when my daughter was growing up, I was concerned about some things. My mother said, "Brother, she'll work it out." And you know what? My mom was right. Okay? You know, and I've got confidence that you've been given the guidance that you will work it out. But protect your character. Remember your responsibility to others.
All right. Thank
Like
you.
before, I just have something to say, intervene, before, the other person speaks. You were saying that education, like, we go to school for education for a job. I mean, I totally agree with it, but at the same time, like, I feel like, what am I actually learning? I mean, I'm learning something, but like to like get down to the basics, what am I actually sitting in class learning? Like, I understand you have to do it, but you're just doing it to go to college, be in debt maybe if you don't get scholarships, and then you get your degree and get your job that maybe you don't agree with or maybe you disagree with. And I feel like education, I mean, it has a purpose, but like, how much do we really have to learn? I understand like we learn new things like every single day, but like by the end of the day, like this generation and maybe the generations before me, like we all have like our different opinions on education. I feel like I'm not supposed to just sit down and just be pleased or please people with the grades that I sit down and get in school, because by the time, I guarantee myself that when I leave high school, I'm going to be not remembering anything, like just how I left middle school and I didn't remember anything. Even though I do agree with you, I still disagree with you about your opinion about education. But I agree with everything else that you have said earlier.
Sammy, you should admonish your Dr. Lowe for being late. Tell him about your restaurant business model so you won't have a job. Tell him about your
We're
restaurant
gonna
business
we're
model.
gonna go we're gonna go back to that. But let me ask you, Sammy, when you said that you disagree with what he says about education. Remember, he said you're going to school. Okay, what you're going to school for, and is that's what you disagree with?
I mean, like I go to school, yes. And the only part like I disagree with him is I feel like children nowadays they only go to school just to please their parents and please the principal and the teachers. Cause let's be honest, in a classroom, one less the student is one less the paycheck. So if you're not there, the teacher is not getting paid. So the teacher is just being there just to get their money. They don't actually really care about your education. They just be there to be there. Same for you. You're just there for the attendance.
Well, unfortunately, we have let our school system deteriorate because of the nature of the people who we've hired to be teachers. I come from a family of teachers. My grandmother went raised 9 children, went back to school, got her bachelor's and her master's in education, and taught here in the Bronx, and fought to get the replacement for the old PS2 down in the lower Bronx. But what I hear you, but I think again, there's nothing new. When I was in school in college, the word was make it relevant. When I was sitting in my high school math class, I'll never use this stuff again. Why do I gotta sit through this? The most important thing to learn is the discipline. You're learning the discipline. to discipline not only your mind but your way of being. And discipline is what gets you through the tough times.
Manners and etiquette.
That too. I mean, that can avoid the tough times sometimes. You can avoid conflicts that don't need to be. But the most important thing is you're now at a stage where you're learning, you're being disciplined. You're taking on, you're taking in. You're in what, 10th grade? Sammy? 10th grade? So you'll be
Yes, I
doing
am. Yes, I am.
you're doing what, geometry? You've had the algebra
Yes, I'm doing
playing.
geometry.
Okay. Well, there's a whole lot of math that you're going to have to learn, and it's going to be based on that geometry. Sometimes friends of mine are flabbergasted that I can remember the lessons that I learned back in high school. I still have my high school Latin textbooks, and I will sit back and sit down and go back and review some of Cicero's speeches, just to keep up the discipline. When I was learning to fly, I had to learn a certain discipline to do it by the checkbook, the checklist. Okay, I can still recite my landing checklist, my takeoff checklist, my pre-flight checklists. These are disciplines that you learn, and you learn the value of discipline. I talked about last Friday with Mr. Campbell, going over some medical records, and it was appalling to me the lack of discipline among the residents in training. And I blame some of the people who I knew who were the attendings for not insisting on that. They don't write in complete sentences. They got a hodgepodge and a jumble. And because the technology allows them to copy, cut, and paste, they keep propagating errors about people's lives that lead to critical mistakes. I still do things the way I was taught because I was taught the right way. And I hope that you're being taught now the right way, and that you'll be humble enough to accept the discipline. Because that's where you are in your stage in life. You will then, once you've acquired the skills and the knowledge, then you can be creative because you'll have a background, a scaffolding on which to build. Then your contributions can come forward and flower. But you're not at that stage in life yet. You're everywhere. Everything, you're easily distracted. Everything, if you want to be this, you want to be that, you want to do this. I like that. I like fashion. I like this. And you can't chase. Chase every whim. Part of getting to where you want to be in life is learning to be disciplined.
Wow. Discipline. Okay. So why am I getting a feedback? And is everybody muted? I'm getting a feedback. Okay. We just heard from Dr. Lowe. Sammy and I know you're learning, I'm learning. Ashina Williams, you're learning out there. All of us, Donnie, you're learning. Dion was saying something about Sammy who wants to open her own restaurant. That's her dream.
That's right. I'll also
And
add.
and we was talking about that. You were saying what you were saying, Dion?
Well, I was saying, not to contradict Dr. Lowe, I was saying that you should review your restaurant business model to say that you are already thinking beyond the job to ownership. And I also give you another resource. You can be 16 years old to get your food handler's license card. Okay, so you might want to write that down. Get certified with your food handler's license because they'll give you the tools necessary. Oh, wow, you're writing it down, I see. So once again, you can call 311 or you can Google that. Get your food handler's card and you can start from there with your dreams. But back to Dr. Lowe's point. The reason why you go to school and it's required, same as college, you're telling somebody on a piece of paper that you can be consistent and committed to one goal in life. You may feel as though you're locked in, but you already, as we said, you refer to the Bible. I refer to the Bible again, seeking you shall find. I'm going to give you, and everybody here is going to give you the little tools you'll need in your toolkit to open that business, hopefully by the time you're 18 or even 17. You have certain certifications in tandem as you go to school. In addition, you might actually want to stop in the cafeteria. If you go to the cafeteria, I bet you tomorrow and say, hey, who here has a food handler's license? Everybody better raise their hand. And then they should be able to point you to the chart that say, here's my certification. And then the conversation, the mentorship may be able to start there, okay? So hopefully those words encourage you.
Thank you.
I just want to say,
Go ahead, Daniel.
Dion, the Bible is Matthew 7:7.
Yeah, well,
Okay, Reverend. I got you.
Don't play with Daniel on the Bible. He don't play. He quotes you that even on social media in a second. But Dr. Law, as Dion say, you came on late. We understand you had some setback. And Daniel, Sammy, you're here learning from some of the great leaders, the great mentors. One thing, I don't get in trouble easy because when I think of getting myself in trouble, I think, oh my goodness, I got to call attorney Hugh Campbell, and I don't need that. I don't need him to hear that I am in trouble because then guess what? I'm laying him down. Your character. Dr. Lowe talk about character. And I told a young lady the other day who said, oh, I don't care what nobody say. My life is an open book. I could care less. And I said, when I hear somebody talk like that, it scares me. Because if you don't care what nobody say, you don't care how nobody feel about you. When I said to this person, well, let me ask you a question. Would anyone care to be around me if I didn't care about my character? I didn't care about my behavior? Who would want to be associated with somebody like that? Character is important. That's why some people go crazy when people scandal their name. Because it's not that easy to clean up your reputations when somebody destroy that. So reputation is important, and your character. And I know you learn a lot tonight. And I go ahead, Dr. Lowe.
He who robs my purse takes nothing, but he who robs my name takes everything. Shakespeare.
Repeat that.
He who robs my purse takes nothing, but he who robs my name robs everything. It's one of Shakespeare's plays.
All right, you hear that?
No.
Go ahead, Mr.
No,
Campbell.
I just wanted to add, going back to something that Sammy said about the different courses that you take in school and going to school. And I will say the way I justify that discussion many times when I hear it is that as an individual, you want to soak up as much knowledge as you can so you can be as rounded as you possibly can. And, when you sit in a room, irrespective of what position you hold, and you can engage in conversation with any and everybody, then you will be surprised how much respect you get in return. So sometimes you might not want to pay attention to certain things because you got your eyes set on one thing. But I think being a rounded person always makes a much better person because no one can pull anything on you. And I will tell you, did I like science in school? No, but one of the things I learned in my profession is that sometimes when I'm handling certain matters, I've got to run to the library. Well, we don't go to the library anymore. You go to the computer and read books on medicine, books on engineering, books on certain things, because it really impacts what I do. And as you were talking about your restaurant, and I said, well, you know what? I can tell you one situation that I have where the person had a restaurant, but someone came in and really took them for a ride for really a lot of money because they didn't have the ability to sit down and say, no, that's not what I want. That's not the layout I wanted. And when the person came in and did all kind of stuff and basically they said, no, that's not what that was what I wanted. They said, oh, it's too late. And they ended up in court. So no, you need to be as rounded as you possibly can because you want to be able to address everything that comes at you when you're in business.
Absolutely, you heard it. And as Crazy Kissy, you see the name as Crazy Kissy, right? Someone say, why you call yourself Crazy Kissy? Even something as simple as what you call yourself is important. Your name is your name. But growing up, we used to think a name is just a name. But today, your name matters. Your character matters. Everything matters in the world today. And Dr. Lowe say, nothing changed. Nothing is new under the sun. But I think that maybe what Sammy is looking at is the fact that we advancing. Because there was a time when I went to Monroe College, I had to sit there and type on these typewriters that I had to hit those things so hard. They're not doing it anymore. So technology is advancing from the days of Dr. Lowe. So maybe I think that's what Sammy is looking at. We're being more creative. Things are advancing. And no, you don't think so, Dr. Lowe?
No, because the QWERTY keyboard I got here in front of me, okay, it's the same keyboard that used to be on the Smith Corona that you typed on, that I learned to type on. And thank God in 8th grade, we had to take the typing course so I could learn how to touch type, okay? I'm not gonna be a secretary. That was my attitude. But I learned it. When I wrote my program for my medical records program, and I introduced it to my colleagues at the Medical Society, I said, "Look, guys, this is what's coming: computerized medical records." And the first thing they said to me, "Well, how do you take a history and type at the same time?" I said, "Well, if you know how to touch type, you don't look at the keyboard." Okay? You gather the skills from wherever they come.
Makes sense.
Okay? You want to go into the restaurant business? You've got to learn business management. You've got to know accounting. You've got to learn how to put together a menu. And not just the menu, but you also have to be able to look at the recipes and see what works and what doesn't work. And you've got to economize. These are things you're going to have to learn. And you're going to learn through exposure over the course of your life. But you're also going to have to go and get an education to put those skills in your head. And I don't mean to be preaching at you, but I've got so much I want to put old heads on young shoulders. Okay.
All right. You hear that, Sammy?
You know, and believe me, we only get one life, and if you're lucky enough to learn from the experience of others, you don't make the same mistakes, and you can benefit.
I think I just had one comment what Sammy said, and I think when we talk about Black History Month, and I think Dr. Lowe also hit on it, and you talk about technology, Sammy, and yes, technology is a great thing, but I also think that technology has its downside in terms of our community, because one of the things that I see a lot, and I talk about it, is that the younger generation, and I'm talking my own family, if they want something, they go to the phone or the computer and they will press a button and buy it online. Okay, and the question is, who is that merchant that they're purchasing this from online? And they will not go 2 doors down to the corner store and support that corner store. So the question is, how does that store stay in the community, and how do we promote the businesses in our community? And I think that goes to your restaurant business also, because again, we want to bring traffic in. If everybody's going online and doing what is easy and what is convenient, then we always will be struggling in our community. So we have to start really imparting that we should not do what is convenient, but again, we need to spend our money in a very conscious fashion and support the local printer, the local fruit and vegetable market, the local restaurant. Yes, it's very easy to go on order online, but again, are we supporting the people in our community? So computers are very good, but there's also that drawback.
Well, Sammy,
Let
I
me ask
also
you a
add,
question.
Sammy,
Wait, hold on. What about attorney? You said that, but what about the people with the businesses encouraging us to want to support them? Because sometimes even the very things you're doing, you don't have some of the business want to support give you the opportunity to support what you're trying to do. Some of the businesses, you're a man attorney, Hugh Campbell, whether you're there or not, you're supporting. Well, I can't be there, but I'm going to support. I can't be there. You ask some of your people to support you even to do something for a cause. They don't want to put $5 out there. Our people need to come together. We need to be educated, and we need to stop and talking about what need to be done, what change need to come. But within ourselves, are we making that change?
It's where we spend the money.
Yeah, it's where we spend the money.
well, the thing
well,
about
I
it is,
also,
go ahead,
Everybody,
Sam.
hold on.
go
We want to
ahead,
talk
go
one
ahead.
at a time. We want to
Do I
talk one
go
at a
first?
time. Dion was
Okay.
saying something. I couldn't. Go right ahead, Dion. Wait a minute. Go ahead, Dion. Finish what
All
you
right, this
said.
is for Sammy. All that other stuff, let's worry about you. I just found out, because I'm a consultant, there's something called culinary camp from New York City from ages 12 to 17. Now, if you have the chat, I'll put it in there. So hopefully you can look into that further. But the thing about it is, when it comes to supporting our own business, Sam, you're already doing it. Because once you open up your own business, hopefully at 17 or beyond, you get to hire your own people. Let me give you the secret sauce to do exactly and solve the problems they're talking about. We used to do that pre-civil rights, right, Dr. Lowe? Let's say Dion's family, it's called the migration experience. We had something called the Great Migration. Open up our own business in the North. We send down to South Carolina for cousin so-and-so. Now cousin so-and-so's our nanny. So if you do the same thing, you have family in the Caribbean, you migrate from the Caribbean over here, open a store or business, you send down to the Caribbean, send for cousin so-and-so, neighbor so-and-so, and they work for you. One thing about the entrepreneurship, because that's what we're talking about now, you're going to be an entrepreneur, is that we can hire our own folk and keep have you ever heard of a susu before? We can keep the economics in our own community. A lot of people don't know that entrepreneurs like yourself, they hire people that come home from prison. They hire people to give them a second chance. The big companies like Target and Kmart, all those other things, they won't hire our folks either for past records or even bad credit. But you, Sammy, we're going to give you the tools necessary to lead by example. And so I just put in the chat, there's a culinary campus over the summer, New York City has from ages 12 to 17. And once again, when you lead by example, you can hire your friends from school and plant the same seeds that we're talking about right now. And they're going to be so jealous, which is a good thing.
Awesome. You hear that? And it's not over tonight. We're going to come back to part 2 of that. And it's called educating and empowering the young people. Daniel, you were saying something?
Yeah, something I just thought of, like with the restaurant team, right? Think of when you start your restaurant, think of healthy choices for food that can help Black people, help end diseases that Black people face. So like food that can solve like diabetes, high blood pressure, so we could stop being
Obese.
not just be, but we could
Sick.
the Bronx could be stopped being number 62.
True. And it's funny you say that, Daniel, because that's exactly where her head is. And those are things that we talk about, and that's where she's going. And earlier, she didn't want to say much, but that's one of the reasons she say hers is going to be different. because she's thinking in a whole different way. So you pull it out, and that's exactly what she's thinking, not just the regular. So somebody got to come up with some solutions to
Some
our problems.
some salad.
Yes. And so manners and etiquette when we're
Mhm.
serving the people. So Barbara gonna always be spoken about in your restaurant. Barbara name gonna come up. You're gonna say, I heard that name before, manners and etiquette. And you're gonna hear Dr. Lowe. And what Dr. Lowe said tonight make a lot of sense, because if I did not learn to type on that ping, bang, ping thing, even though it's a different way of looking at the keyboard we use it now. If I didn't learn back then what I learned, I wouldn't be able to just go in, and people looking at me like, how you go so fast? You ever see somebody sending you a message and your phone could tell you they're typing and they're there forever and you're waiting. And when they send you, it's just one sentence and you say, I waited this long for one sentence. And then you look at somebody else and they're just going like that. They send you a book in a minute. So if you don't have that speed also, there's a lot to learn in. So don't let nobody fool you about education is not important. Knowledge, wisdom, all that come into play. So having a business, as attorney Hugh Campbell said to you, if you don't have what it takes to run a business, it's not just having the money. Because I can tell you, I go into some restaurants and you talk to some of these business owners and you try to do business with them and you just tell yourself, I'm walking out of here. But one of the things we don't do as a people, we don't complain. We just say, I'm not going back there. And they think, well, it's okay. They never learn. They never grow. Because nobody telling them the food don't taste right. It's too much salt. We just keep moving on. Then we turn around and we say, you know what? I ain't doing nothing in my community. But are we correcting our community issues? You see, there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of work to be done. And that's why Barbara talked about manners and etiquette. We have lost it somewhere along the way. And we need it back. And I know it's the top of the hour. It's 11 o'clock. We started at 9. And imagine when there's information to pour out, you can talk for hours. And the time just don't seem like it's passing us by. That's how important what we're talking about here is. But there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people who would see this show tomorrow, and the first thing they're going to say, oh, I missed that. Oh, I didn't know you was on, because they was busy doing something else, because we're so caught up doing the wrong things today. It goes back to what Hugh says and Daniel says, priority. We don't have that in place. And that's why we're losing out on great information that could help us to push us in the direction we need to go. Dion give us a lot of information. Daniel share his information. Barbara, there's something you want to say? Barbara?
Yes, I want to say, Dr. Lowe, Dr. Lowe?
Yeah, we're listening to you,
Hello?
Barbara, but you're cutting out. We're listening to you.
Yes. Dr. Lowe, you used to be my doctor at Dr. Green's on 233rd. You remember work?
It was a community health center. It wasn't Dr. Green. Dr. Green was the medical director.
Correct.
Another.
But you was the doctor there, and you was my doctor. Yes. And I'm 82 years old, so I'm hoping you help me.
We're losing you, Barbara.
Thank you, Dr. Lowe.
We didn't hear what you said.
Thank you for everything.
Well, you're more than welcome, dog.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could hear you, but you're just cutting in and out.
And you're more than welcome, darling, because we do. That's what I'm about. Helping people.
Yes.
I think Sammy wanted to say something.
Hold on, but we got to Barbara?
Yes.
Cut you off. Go right ahead. What you were saying?
I said, I'm sure Dr. Lowe had a lot to do with my life for me to get to the age that I am, because he was very serious about my health when he was there. And I listened to him. And I'm here listening to him again this evening. It's a pleasure. Thank you, Dr. Lowe.
Thank you. No, thank you. It's an honor to take care of people, to be entrusted with their lives. But Sammy, I want to say to you, I didn't spring up being a doctor. I worked as a short order cook when I was 14. Okay, I swept I swept stables and shoveled horse manure and taught horseback riding as a teenager. I scrubbed floors in Harlem Hospital. That's when I first got my first job in a hospital, scrubbing the floors and pushing patients around on the stretchers. Okay? Where you are now is not where you're going to be. It's not forever. But suck the juice out of what you're experiencing now. You know, when I walk into a hospital and I see somebody pushing a patient around, I got no problems grabbing one end of the stretcher and helping them get through the door or get on the elevator. You know, these, or even grab a mop and mop up. You know, there's a joke. You know, you walk into a restaurant, you see people standing around, you see one guy with a mop. That's the owner. Okay, that's the owner because he's got ownership interest in what in the business. He's going to do what it takes to make it succeed. And don't be afraid to get your hands dirty, girl. Okay, get down in the mud and do what has to be done to get where you want to go. Okay.
Unmute yourself, Sammy.
Because
Okay.
we're back tomorrow.
Unmute yourself, Sammy.
Sammy,
Sammy, unmute yourself.
unmute yourself. You're muted.
You're muted. Go ahead. Sammy, go ahead.
Now I got you.
Sammy? She's unmuted and we're still not hearing her. But until she come in, Dr. Lowe, she learned from everyone tonight something. And I know information.
I don't know
You're
if you
back?
guys can hear me, but yes, definitely for sure. I'll take your advice, and I want to thank everyone. But I also have like three. I am on. I am on mute. Can you hear me
Yes.
now?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? No.
We're hearing you.
Can you hear me like loud and clear?
We're hearing you, Sammy.
Yes. Hello, I'm here.
Crystal.
Can you hear me?
Crystal clear.
We're hearing
Can you
you.
hear me now?
We're hearing you.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We're hearing you.
Can you hear me loud and clear? No. Hello?
Yes. We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I just wanted to say thank you. Okay. I just want to say thank you to like. Can you hear me?
We're hearing you, Sammy.
Oh,
Just say
okay.
thank you. Go right
Okay.
ahead.
So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for supporting me. Oh, okay. 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 Oh, I was sorry. I didn't know if I was being heard or not, but I just wanted to like have 3 points. Even I'm thanking everyone. Number one, I just wanted to say, go back on Mr. Campbell's word.
Are you pressing
but
anything while you're talking?
I'm just saying that, I'm going back on Mr. Campbell's word. I just wanted to add a few things that about each other. We also, no, but I just wanted to say that about that. He was saying that, supporting each other's business and stuff like that. And I think neighborhood and the black community, you could see, you go around, you see a lot of junk food places and liquor stores and stuff like that. You don't really see like stuff to keep us healthy and stuff. But like if you went to like somewhere like upstate or New Jersey in the white neighborhoods, you would see more stuff, to keep them healthy and things. So I totally like agree with you with that. And also like my second point with Dr. Ed Lau, I just wanted to say you were saying that I should like have hands-on learning and I should expand my mind and expand my horizon on stuff, which I totally agree with you too. And, everyone was supporting me with my business and stuff. And you were talking about my restaurant, which I have dedicated myself to, even though I am 15. Ever since I turned 13, I've come up with this idea and, becoming a restaurant and like what the name stands for. I already came up with the name and everything, a menu or like already, but I have to like finish that and stuff. And I've put everything that I have into it. Because at first I wanted to explore and I wanted to actually be a doctor and a veterinarian, but I did my research. I researched, how many years you have to stay in college for that, how much degrees you have to get, the salary, where you're going to be located and stuff, and what you have to know, what topics you have to study. And I decided, like, I don't want to do that. That's not my passion. So I stuck towards my passion, which is, I have a thing for art and a thing for cooking very much, because every single day I'm in the kitchen, I'm cooking. I cook for my family every single day. I cook for myself every single day, and I keep keep myself in check. And then also another thing before, I don't want to carry this on for too long, but another thing that I would want to say is that you were talking also about like behavior and stuff and discipline. How I see myself, like in my opinion, I'm not like the other children that I be seeing at my school. Like they want to act so out of place and they want to be disrespectful to their parents. Yes, but we also have to look at like, what do you want to show? Like, who do you want to show yourself to, like your true self to? Because you could go to school, you could go to work and put on a fake mask and be like, that's who I am, just to impress people. But like when you're at home, that's not who you really are. You're just doing it to get the applause and the approval of other people. And yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about and like hit points on. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sammy. I know I have a lot that we have to go over of the year, and you're joined here tonight, and you would not be forgotten. We're coming back. And Daniel, is there anything you want to say in closing? No? Okay. Um, Barbara, we have lost you a few times, and you touched me tonight when you talk about Dr. Ed Lowe here, who was your doctor. And when we started the show, you said you were the oldest person on the show, but I don't think you are anymore. But to have a doctor as Dr. Ed Lowe, who was your doctor, and you said you so appreciate the fact that he was so much into your care, and that's one of the reasons that you could say you're here tonight. Amazing that I've driven and lived in the Bronx and lived on from the 220s all the way up, and didn't know about Dr. Lowe, passing Dr. Lowe, taking Dr. Lowe office for granted that he's a great doctor in there. But somebody didn't tell me about Dr. Lowe. But it's not too late. It's not too late to find Dr. Lowe, because now that we all know Dr. Lowe, when I've met Dr. Lowe the first time, I say, you know what? I have to sit down with Dr. Lowe one-on-one. And now more than ever, I said to Attorney Hugh Campbell the other day, we got to make sure we have Dr. Lowe. He said, oh, I ain't got to worry about Dr. Lowe. Dr. Lowe is a man of his word. And now hearing it from Barbara, there's education right here. This is a school. You're out of school, but you came to school. You're out of day school, but you came to night school tonight, Sammy. And you learned so much tonight. So, Dr. Lowe, we can't thank you enough. Attorney Hugh Campbell, sometimes you talk about me and pride and all that, but when you get on the show, you talk about, oh, I'm just Attorney Hugh Campbell, and I specialize, and you make it look like you just specialize in this. But he's a man that people call for everything, even housing issues. So don't take it for granted. Housing issues. One of the biggest thing going on now is divorce. And he will even put you back. He put you back. Instead of divorcing, you might even go back into your marriage when he's finished with you in the courtroom. So don't take divorce lightly when it comes to him. Car accident, don't come and tell me, well, I'm undocumented and I get hit and I don't know if I have a case. No, he knows there is a case. So there is so much thing you can learn from Attorney Hugh Campbell. And I used to wonder where he gets so much experience and knowledge. But when you're in a company of someone like Dr. Lowe, who didn't even have a GPS when he was flying the plane, I don't know how he did it. But to fly these kind of plane back in his days, I don't want to go back there because I don't think I can learn that all over. So Dion, we have a lot to talk about. We have more to talk about. And Daniel, man, can't thank you enough for what you do in the community. Keep doing what you're doing. Hope that you're appreciated by the right people and surrounded by the right people who see yourself, because people take community as lightly as they think it is, but it's not an easy job. It's a job, because it's not everybody would get involved in community the way that you do. You make a difference, and thank you so much. And when it comes to you, and you talk about Vanessa Gibson, honorable, our Bronx district attorney, also out there doing things, we can't forget Sammy. We have a black Bronx district attorney. She's not the only one, but we're talking Bronx tonight. I'm not trying to be prejudiced, but since we touch on the Bronx, there is so many things in Black History Month to celebrate. We have come a long way. We have come a long way.
Amen.
And I know Dr. Lowe could take us back to how far he been and where we are today as a people, because there's a lot we used to say, oh, when are we going to have a black this and a black this and a black that? Well, we're having them now. We're having judges. We're having so many leaders around the world. And we even have attorney Hugh Campbell, who been a black attorney right there on Gunny Road in the Bronx for so many years when we were going downtown looking for attorneys. And you want to know, why are you going downtown? Because we had this stigma that is certain type of people can get in the courtroom and won your case. But when you lose, you come back and say, I don't know, but the other attorney took my money, and I just want to know if attorney Hugh Campbell can help me. Then you got to start all over again. Why not just start in your community? The resources are here. So if we're going to talk about it, let's start now. So Dion, you support me, I support you. And let me tell you something, Dr. Edlow. On June 3rd, 2022, I have a cancer foundation that we are doing scholarship. We're giving scholarship. We honor cancer survivor, community people. We do this year after year. And I always put on the mic attorney Hugh Campbell, right, as the host. But the funny thing, without him, I couldn't have done a whole lot that I do. And I publicly say this. This man guides you, keep you in the right path. So when it comes down to what we're doing, look at the people who support you when it's time to call for support, supporting a cause. But then we talk so much about our people not getting anywhere. But when there's a time to support, you see the same people every time you go to a certain event, because our people don't want to spend money to support each other. But if you give them a free ticket, they're sitting in the same place that they didn't want to buy a ticket to come and enjoy themselves like everybody else. That's a problem we have, and we have to talk about our Black issues, because our Black lives matters. I can't thank enough everybody who is here tonight for being here. Barbara, you were saying something?
I was going to say,
When I first started my business, I went to Mr. Campbell. He was part of me staying focused and also being where I am today. Thank you, Mr. Campbell. I know you remember.
Thank you. Thank you, Barbara.
I'd like to add that money is like manure. It only does any good when you're spreading it around. I have never seen a big truck following a hearse. You can't take it with you.
Thank you so much, Dr.
I would
Ed.
also like to add too, in closing, Sammy, if you go to that website of the culinary campus, not so many of our people know about it. And if you go to the website, there's nothing but white faces. Sometimes it'll come upon you. Once again, my theme is let's make Black history. My challenge to you is one day when I go to that website for other youth, I want to see your face on that website amongst all those children there that are learning about these arts that don't look like us or from our communities, okay? So please, my information is here. Miss Avril has my information. That's my challenge for you, okay? Let's make Black history together.
Oh yeah,
Thank you so much. Go
one
right
more
ahead.
thing.
Hold on, Daniel. Go right ahead. We're trying to go in order so we don't speak over each other.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh.
Go ahead, Daniel.
Oh, okay. One last thing for Sammy, right? Since you're 14, and but I would say my new councilwoman Stevenson, she put more money for some of you. So when the application come out, you should take advantage of that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll make sure she get all that information, Daniel. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Sammy, you said you share, and Barbara and everyone that's here tonight, we thank you all. Thank you all so much for coming on and not just sharing the information among us, but to whoever it reached. We had folks here who was on as far as Florida, the Virgin Islands, Atlanta. When you reach someone, if you even touch one person, that one person gonna reach someone else, because you'll be surprised to know somebody hear this information tonight. When they sit to have a conversation with somebody tomorrow, they're gonna be talking to somebody about what they heard on this program. So don't take for granted, as I told someone the other day, don't worry about having 5,000 followers on social media. Worry about how many supporters you have on social media. Because I remember posting on Facebook, please support my YouTube channel so I could rebuild it all over. And I will guarantee you, if I ask 1,000 people to go to YouTube and subscribe to this channel, The Avril Show, you probably have 5 people think it's too much to go over there to do that, because they are so busy watching something else. But they are the same people who would call Avril tomorrow to say, I need help about exactly something Attorney Hugh Campbell was speaking about. So the reason for that channel is to make sure people can go back there and replay this program and hear what Dion have to say, and Daniel have to say, and Dr. Lowe have to say, and Attorney Hugh Campbell have to say. But if you put on a show where they're whipping and carrying on and telling you, they're calling you every name in the book, they will have 1 million followers overnight, because it's negativity. So priority is important. What do you look at? What do you take in? Who do you listen to? That's what important if you're talking about having your own business and making a change. And as Dion say, let's make Black history. Tonight, I want to thank everyone again. And I hope to see you again right here on the Avril Show, where we could make Black history every month. Thank you, Dr. Lowe. Thank you, Attorney Hugh Campbell. And as Barbara Gibson say, we are Bronx strong. Daniel, we are all here together. And we're going to make sure that we are the change of Black history. Thank you. And Sammy, I'll be speaking to you later. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you, Avril. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Have a nice one.